I have been a milk drinker.
I think we humans are doing a giant experiment without realizing.
I think that's one of the big reasons for the move towards organic.
What is that food doing to my stomach and my gut bacteria? Nobody has studied that.
As you grow older, your digestion is not as much as well as it was before.
Eat what your grandparents used to eat, because that's what your body is designed for.
In the morning, I'm starting with fruit because that's the most straightforward thing to eat.
20 years ago, I used to think that fertilizers and chemicals are okay. But as I've gotten older and I have seen effects on my own health and how my body is doing very differently than what my father's body did, some of the other health issues I'm facing, I'm realizing that chemicals are bad. I think we humans are doing a giant experiment without realizing, like, we are making our whole body chemistry change in 30, 40 years, something that got adapted over millions of years, right? You do things for millions of years in a particular way. And for capitalism, you change things in 40 years. And I think I want to live a life more closer to how we have lived for millions of years,
I think so. I think that's one of the big reasons for the move towards organic. And the other domino that I think is we are in the early stages where this is going to fall is UPF, ultra processing of foods. So if you read the back panel of most of the foods you get in your supermarket, and I suspect it's more in America than at least in UK and Europe at now. I don't know about India because the level of packaged foods is still thankfully under control. But it's increasing a lot exponentially. If you see all the nitrates and the sulfides that go into your packaged food, that is scary. And it's only more recently that people are waking up to this. A lot of it has been done for preservation, for longer shelf lives.
So that it doesn't go bad in the shelf. But what is that food doing to my stomach and my gut bacteria? Nobody has studied that.
And I'll give you one example. This is purely personal experience. So ever since I was a kid, I have been a milk drinker, in the sense that my breakfast before going to school used to be one large glass of milk, and in the evening one large glass of milk was a must have. That was my snack before dinner, and so on. And I've maintained that, of course, as I've grown older. It's not been 2 large glasses of milk, but it's still been regularly three times a week. I've had very recently, in the last couple of years, I've realized that if I maintain that, partly it is because of, as you grow older, your digestion is not as much as well as it was before. But then I started looking into what am I getting as milk out here. And this is about the UK. The Indian milk is still, I think, what you get from Amul and all that is still relatively better, but it's still going in the same direction. It is completely homogenized. I'm not even talking about UHT milk, which is ultra heat treated milk, which will have like a 3-week shelf life. As in, the milk doesn't go bad at room temperature for 3 weeks.
Oh my God.
Imagine what would have gone into that milk.
Yeah, what would have gone into that?
Stops going bad. That's ultra heat treated. And yes, the heat is treating the milk, that it's not going bad. That means it's killing all the bacteria, because the bacteria won't ever multiply.
Yeah, absolutely.
So is there any benefit in having that milk? That's the first question. But even the non-UHT, the regular milk, what's called the regular milk out here, there's a word I came across called homogenization. Very layman language. What it means is that churned is the wrong word, but it is basically treated in a machine at such high speeds that it is homogenized, which means that all the cream and the milk are completely merged together. So nothing is taken out. Of course, some of the cream is taken out because then they sell it separately as cream, but everything is consistent. From a practical viewpoint, what that means is, you remember in India, we used to boil milk and then drink it, because without boiling, which is like a semi-pasteurization at home, you could fall sick if there's something in there. Out here, you don't need to boil milk at all. And part of it is pasteurization, but a lot of it is also homogenization, in the sense that when you boil it, and if it cools down, can you believe it? There is no layer of cream that forms on the top when milk cools down.
Oh my God.
It is non-existent. It is like water. You boil water, you let it cool down, there is nothing. It's still the same.
So because they've taken out all the cream and they're selling it separately.
You can take out as much cream without homogenization. It will still have something left.
Okay.
So out here, it still has, whether it's 4% fat milk or 2% or 1% fat, there is no cream that comes on top. You can do whatever you want. And that is the thing about homogenization. It is completely the cream and the fat and the milk are melded together. And to me,
Yeah.
the reason I'm saying that is it made me think, is there's something changed in the milk then? I don't know. Maybe it's not the chemical structure, but there is something else that has changed, and my body is not getting what milk is. And
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
enough
You
about
know,
it yet because there aren't too many public things available about the problems with homogenization. But I think
yeah.
that is a huge, huge, huge bomb waiting to explode.
I completely agree, Mix. Look, I'm all for technology. I'm all for going to Mars, going to the moon. I'm all for self driving cars. But we have to understand that our human body is as complicated as the universe. There's literally a universe inside the human body with trillions of cells. You don't experiment with that complicated of a system so quickly without longitudinal studies. So I would like to do things the way they've been done for millions of years, and I don't like these quick science affecting such a complicated system that's our bodies.
In fact, some of the saying trends which are going on, at least in India, is even in terms of dietary habits. The primary recommendation now is eat what your grandparents used to eat because that's what
Yeah.
your body is designed for.
So on my part, I have reduced the refined oil part of my diet quite a lot and
So we,
replaced it with desi ghee.
Very good.
no,
Very good. I hear that that's a good choice.
we don't get refined oil anymore at our house. So the only place we use oil is mustard oil, which is used for a lot of things. But otherwise, everything we make in ghee.
And the other thing that I understand from my reading and that I personally follow is that we humans over millions of years did not get to eat 3 meals a day. We did not have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We humans ate because there was no fridge. We ate when we killed, and we got to eat once in 2-3 days, and we would eat a lot, and then we would fast for 2-3 days till we killed again. And so I am a big proponent of fasting often, and definitely trying to not eat 3 times a day. I think that's how our human bodies evolved, and I think
Yeah.
eating 3 times a day is not natural for us.
So scientific studies are being conducted now. You have this term called autophagy, which just
Yes.
suddenly become popular,
Yes.
and it's something which kind of has been in existence for a long time. But it's just what
Yes.
fasting, longer term
Yes.
fasting helps you do.
From 2022 onwards, so it's been around 2 years now, I fast for 20 hours in a day, and I think that has had significant benefits to my health. So I eat only between 6 p.m. and 10 p.m. And during that time, I do splurge. Like I'll have an ice cream, I'll have a Coke. Like I don't control what I eat during those 4 hours, but the rest 20 hours, I try to give my body a break.
So you don't eat anything else during that time?
No, I don't eat for the other 20 hours. It's tea. I warm up water and I'll put a tea bag in it, and that's what I'll drink. And those 4 hours is when I eat. Very, very significant positive impact. So anybody listening to the show, if you can take one advice, try skipping breakfast to begin with. So at least give your body 16 hours of rest. If you
I think it depends. The diet that has been working for me most of 2023 is I've been skipping dinner. Well, I've been having dinner, except that it's not at dinner time. I try not to eat anything after 6. And given that typically I'm awake till about 11, what that has done to my body, I have tried skipping breakfast, Vix, don't get me wrong. I tried that for a couple of years. That if I need to give my body a 16 to 18-hour break of a meal, breakfast was the easiest to skip. It didn't help me. And skipping this after post 6 p.m. meal has helped me in two ways. I'm having 2 meals or 2.5 meals, but they are more like snacky meals rather than anything, and healthy snacks, not chocolate or ice cream. But if I don't eat at night, firstly, digestion has improved. So by the time one sleeps, anything that has been eaten is largely digested. Otherwise, you sleep on a full stomach. That's probably not best for the body. But secondly, is when I wake up, whether it's 5 or 6 in the morning, firstly I wake up thinking यार दबा के भूख लग रही है, इतनी जोर से भूख लग रही है कि दिमाग में कुछ नहीं आता, तो सबसे पहली चीज, सबसे सिंपल, आप कुछ कुक नहीं करते हो, आप किचन में जाके एक एप्पल खा लेते हो, क्योंकि इजी है, एप्पल या बनाना खा लिया। तो उससे एक मेरा फ्रूट डाइट, एंड द फर्स्ट थिंग इन द मॉर्निंग एक फ्रूट डाइट, और सबसे क्विकली और क्या होता है, एक गरम गरम चाय लो, फिर उसके बाद एक सिंपल सा एक बटर टोस्ट बना लो। सो व्हाट्स हैपनिंग इज आई एम स्टिल हैविंग दैट 16 hour of a intermittent fasting, but it's at a time when my body is digesting the food, the evening food, as well as in the morning I'm starting with fruit because that's the most straightforward thing to eat. So वो दो तीन, that's why that is working for me now. Every person's own system is different.
No, there's this saying in diet, they say that you should have breakfast like a king, have lunch like a common man, and dinner like a pauper. So I think it's kind of aligned to what Mix was also saying.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, when I was a kid, my dad used to tell me that. And the reason that became popular, if you look back into a couple of centuries history, is why has breakfast been touted as the most important meal of the day? It's because people used to do work in the fields, do hard labor. Now
Correct.
none of us is doing any hard labor. हम तो उठते हैं, पहले तो ऑफिस भी जाते थे, अभी तो घर पे कंप्यूटर के सामने बैठ जाते हैं. That's the problem. In addition to the processed foods, in addition to all this stuff that we are putting in, it's also how much are we putting in the body, and does our body actually need any of that anymore, given that we are not doing that same physical work that we needed to.
No, true. In fact, if you begin regular exercising and all, one of the things which does get calculated is what is your calorie usage, and accordingly, you taper your diet to match that usage or have some degree of calorie deficit from there. But yes, if you're not moving around the city or anything, then you're not expending that energy.